So this is the hail we just had from this storm that just blew through really quickly. Is it like ½ inch? Crazy storm. Thankfully our cows and our corral shelter had no problem with that hailstorm this morning. They were all bedded down anyway because it was right before 5 a.m. Our farm dog Carli continues to do very well. She has dirt all over her face right now because she had her nose in a gopher hole. But she is having a great time being a farm dog. Aren't you, Carli? Are you having a good morning, Carli?
Carli, are you dead? Carli?
Jay and Michelle Lancaster stopped by recently to help walk us through the first time we were giving shots to our calves. We were giving them a Clostridium vaccine booster, and although we'd given shots to cows before, you know, it's a little different when it's yours. So we were glad to have them stop by and give us a little hand. Of course, since our calves are overachievers, they had to have a benign reaction to the vaccine, which is the lump you see in the middle of the side of Carnation, and you can kind of see a lump by the shoulder of Buttercup behind her. This is something that is kind of common, I guess, with some Clostridium vaccines. It also means that they have a good immune system, so bonus. One of my latest concerns about the calves is they may have a parasite load. They seem very hungry lately, and they seem to have a bit of a belly. Anyway, just some other symptoms, and I just want to double check on that. So I'm sending a sample, which is in this glass jar with ice packs overnight, to the Washington State University College of Veterinary Medicine. They have an animal disease diagnostic library, and I can send in and they'll do a fecal float sample and give me a parasite load tomorrow afternoon. So we'll see if that shows anything and go from there. The main cow I was worried about was Daisy. She had some unresolved diarrhea, and the other 3 were doing fine. However, they all were eating and had bright eyes and ears, so I knew it wasn't dire. I decided to try my hand at some herbal deworming recipes. I found lots of information online, lots of stuff in books, but nothing that was super precise. So we have wormwood growing on the farm, and so I took some leaves of that, mixed it in with their hay, about a handful for 3 days. I also made a concoction out of some fresh minced garlic cloves, molasses, diatomaceous earth, and alfalfa pellets. I gave them this for 3 days. Almost immediately, Daisy's diarrhea went away. So either it helped boost their immune systems or it did help reduce some type of parasitic load. I got the test results back from Washington State University, and it showed 1 egg and 1 oocyst, basically a roundworm and a coccidia. Now, I did this sample on a Thursday morning, and I started the deworming treatments on a Wednesday. So maybe there was an effect before this test went in, because this was a really good test result. I will do this deworming again at 3 weeks. That's what I found recommended in multiple places because of the parasite cycle. I'll also send in another test sample for Daisy to just confirm that her worm load is remaining low. In many natural deworming recipes, you will find a herb called wormwood. And you may think to yourself, where is that? Where do you get that from? Well, if you're on the Tomarosa, boom, we have wormwood growing naturally in certain areas on our farm. I can harvest some now and dry it, and then we will have it for natural deworming recipes. Wormwood is a woodsy shrub, and it's got a very potent smell. It's almost like a parsley or a sage or a rosemary. It's very strong, and it's actually very hard to get rid of. You have to basically worry it to death. We're turning this into an asset for us because now we have lots of wormwood as we need. Also, eventually we plan to get some pigs and fence in areas that we want them to rehab, but we'll always keep a little wormwood on the farm because it is good for deworming, and it's also good for different types of insects. Here's my bucket of wormwood I'm collecting right now, and I will go tie it up and dry it in our machine shed. Interestingly, I found out that wormwood is one of the main constituents of the alcohol absinthe. It's also one of the main constituents to a very strong drug for malaria. Even though it's the bane of the existence for some people around here, I find it has lots of good qualities. So we will always have a place for it here on this farm. Mostly because it's very persistent and we are not that dedicated as farmers. I found lots of different information out there about how to make deworming recipes. The one with wormwood, a lot of the things that they said were that you had to be careful about the dosage, especially if you had a pregnant animal, and if you had an animal that was lactating, that it would give an off flavor to the milk. We don't have any of those situations. So what I did was I just decided I would harvest some wormwood, strip off the leaves, and basically give what I would accept as a normal amount that would be found if we had wormwood in some baled hay. So about a handful of leaves per feeding. I found that they ate the wormwood leaves. They didn't seem to have any adverse effects of them, and it appeared to work. So yay, wormwood. Here is the wormwood as I have it hanging in our machine shed to dry. We are creating a wagon wheel paddock system for about 9 paddocks in a circle, half circle behind the corral. And we're putting up an exterior wire, clipping on T-post clips. And that way they can graze for about 4 to 5 days in one paddock and then move to fresh grass. And by the time they get to the last paddock, they will have all fresh grass when they get back to the first paddock. Here we are at the corral. We've created a main lane that comes out. And then this is the first little segment of our pie. It's a little bit more than a half circle just because we had this extra area by the corral. And then we can just keep segmenting off as we go around all the way over to that side by our haystacks. This will give us about 40 days of pasture time for them on fresh grass all the time. We're only letting them out for short bits of time, twice a day, as they continue to build up their rumens. They're exploring their new paddock and they appear to be excited about it.
Buttercup here is annihilating that prickly lettuce plant, and so we love her for that. Look at her go.
Come cow, come cow. Come cow, come cow. As you know, we had a little bit of a hump trying to get our feed rations right when we had newly weaned calves. Now that they are 5 months old, we are working on transitioning them away from the grain mix that we fed in the interim. So we're letting them out on pasture in greater amounts of time 3 times a day, and during the middle of the day I'm giving them a little bit of alfalfa pellets. Eventually the plan is by a year old to definitely have them all on an all forage diet. You know how it is, you have an idea of how you want things to work out, but then you get things on your farm and you have to see what works. For us, we had a big learning curve with these calves and we have an idea of how we want it to work, but ultimately the most important thing is the health of our calves and the health of our farm. So that is what we are using as a guide to keep moving forward. Join us next time on the Tomarosa, where we'll have another update of what's going on. See you then!